Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial, and right now this is another coding project that we are going to perform in Python, and in this video we are going to perform the creation of a Bruteforcer. So we're going to see how we can actually create a program in Python that is going to be able, with the help of a user list or with the help of a password list, that is going to be able to actually crack the login form. What we're going to do to our actual program is we're going to provide to it a username, a valid username, and then with that username it's going to brute force over a password of lists and see which one is the correct one. And right now we're going to see how we can do that. So open up your terminal, and the actual web page that we are going to test our program on is going to be the DVWA login form on the actual OS virtual machine. So you simply just check out the IP address of your OS virtual machine, which in my case is 192.168.1.8. You go to your Google Chrome, type in the IP address, you go right here to DVWA, and here is the login form that we're going to try to crack. Now the reason why we're attacking this actual login form is because we already know what the actual username and passwords are, so we're simply just going to provide it with the admin username and also provide it with the list of passwords. Okay, so let's go to our Kali Linux, and on our desktop we're going to create the directory Bruteforcer. Okay, and we're going to change to that directory. Now before we actually start creating our program, let us create a password list, which is going to be called, for example, passwords.txt. And here we're going to provide some random words, doesn't even matter, just spam some letters, or you can actually use an existing actual password list if you want to. But right here I'm just going to spam some passwords real quick and add a correct password, just so you can see that it will manage to find the actual password within this actual list, because all of these are not actually correct, and the correct password is admin. So it will go through all of this saying those are not the correct passwords, and once it comes to this one it will say password found and it will prompt it back to us. So now that we have passwords.txt, let us create bruteforcer.py. Since this is a Python program, we have to start off with the regular line, which is hashtag exclamation mark and then /user/bin and then /python. Now, the way that we're going to create this program is, first of all, we're going to create a variable that is going to have a link to the actual login page. Now, if you want to create this program universal for each and every actual website, now you can use the raw input function, which will, for example, if you simply just type URL equals and then you specify some URL, google.com, for example. Or if you want to prompt the user for the actual URL, you can simply just type raw underscore input and then enter page URL. And then what this will do, as soon as we start the program, it will prompt the user for the actual input of the actual web page link. Okay, so we can leave it like this. And after this, we're going to open the actual passwords list that we created, and for each password in that password list, we're going to perform the actual action or the actual function of cracking that password. So of brute forcing it and checking out whether it is the correct one or not. And you're going to see right now how we're going to do that. So first of all, we're going to open our passwords.txt file. So with open, and this is another way you can open a file in Python. So with open, and the first actual parameter here we need to specify is the name of the file that we want to open. In our case, it is passwords.txt. And the second parameter, which we divide with the comma, is going to be the actual action that we want to perform on that specific password. Now we can actually append to that file, we can read from that file, or we can write to that file. But the actual thing that we need to do right now is we want to actually read from it, since we want to read the passwords from this list. So we're going to open the passwords.txt for reading as passwords, and for each and every password in that list, we are going to perform the function called cracking. And this cracking function will actually take two different parameters. First one is going to be username, and the second one is going to be the URL. Okay, and for the username, we are going to prompt the user, so username is going to be equal raw underscore input, enter username. Okay, so now that we have the function right here above this, so in order to actually create a function in Python, we need to add this def, which stands for function, and then the name of the function that we are creating. So make sure that you call it the same as you called it right here, and it is called cracking. The cracking takes two parameters, as I said, username and URL, and it needs to have two dots at the end. And now everything that is indent in this actual function is going to belong to it. So the first thing that we want to do right now is we want to iterate over the passwords from our list. So we can do that with the help of a for loop. So for each password, so for password, in our passwords, which is what we created right here. So for password in passwords, first of all, we want to strip our password from everything it might actually have unnecessary, such as, for example, a new line character or something like that. And we can use the strip function to actually perform that. So we're simply just taking our password, stripping it from anything unnecessary, and storing it back into same variable. And now we're going to print the actual password that we are trying with. So trying, and then two dots, and then we can simply just add password right here. Okay, so print trying password. And the thing that we're going to do right now is, in order for us to actually know when the password was correct or not, we need to actually send it to the HTML code of the page that we are attacking. And how can we do that? Well, we're going to create a dictionary, data underscore dict, and then equals, and then these curly brackets like right here. And now we're going to navigate to our page. And the thing that we're going to do right now is we're going to open the page source code. What we're trying to find right here is we're trying to find the actual form where the username password is specified, and we can see it is right here. So here is the form. The form is performed on the login.php page, which is the actual page of the login form, as you can see right here. And here we have the label for username and label for password. Now what we want to specify in our program is we want to specify that the name, so this is the line for the username, and we want to find the actual value in this line, which is called name. Now this value is equal to username, so we want to specify the value of the name right here, which in this case is username. As we can see right here, the name equals to username, and we want to put it between double quotes, and that value is going to be equal to the username that we specify at the beginning of the program. And in the actual Python dictionaries, you actually divide the key and the value using two dots. So that is the first value that we need to specify to our dictionary. The second value is going to be password. So now we need to find the name tag for the password label. So here is the password label, and we are once again trying to find the name. Here is the name, so name equals password, as we can see right here. Name equals password, that's why right here between the double quotes we're specifying password, two dots, and then we're specifying the password that we are using to crack. So password, which is going to be the current password in the iteration of our passwords.txt. And the last thing that we need to specify, because the actual username and password is not enough, we also need to specify the button, and the button is simply on our page this login button right here, which has to be clicked or called in order for it to try to log in. And we also need to find the name for that button, and we can see right here, here is the actual line where the button is defined, and we can see that the name equals to login. So we are going to perform in between double quotes the name, which is login, and then the next thing that we need to specify right here after two dots, which is going to be the value, is going to be the actual submit, because because that is the action that we want to actually perform. We want to submit this actual username and password. That's why we're going to call submit. But keep in mind that right here we also need to add the double quotes, so we are going to specify submit in between this. This is our data dictionary that is going to store username, password, and button information that right now we want to send to our actual web page. And we can do that using the help of our library, which is going to be called the requests library. So import requests. That is the library that allows us to actually interact with a web page. So we're going to import it right here. And now we're going to call the actual requests.post function, and we're going to store it in a variable called response. So the response is going to be equal, and now we are going to call the requests library. So it is going to be equal to requests.post, and this post actual function takes two parameters in our case. The first one is going to be the URL, which is the URL to our page, and the second one is going to be the actual data that we want to post to that website. In our case, that's going to be the data dictionary. So we're going to specify data to be equal to data underscore dictionary. Okay, so we're specifying it like this. And now we successfully sent our data to the web page. But now comes another problem. We managed to actually send the data, but we need to check whether that password is correct or not. So how can we do that? We store the actual response of that web page into our response variable. So let's see what happens when a password is incorrect. So let's go to our web page. Let's prompt in something random right here and click on login. And this is the example when the password is incorrect. We will get back this page with a simple text below saying login failed. So now we know, because our response is going to have the HTML content after we specify the username and password to the web page, therefore our response variable will also have this string in it, which is the login failed. Therefore, we can simply just check whether the password was correct or incorrect by specifying if login failed, and make sure that you write it the same way it is written right here, so L capital and F smaller letters. So if login failed string is in response.content, then we want to pass, because then it is not the correct password. Else, if it is not in the actual response.content, that means that we actually found the correct password, and we're going to print it to our screen. So else, we want to print username. Let's print it like this, and then concat the username using plus, and then in the next line we're going to print the same thing just for the password, so password, and then we can exit the actual program. Okay, so this would be our entire program. So right now, or let me just add another thing right here and at the end of the program, because there is a possibility that the password will not be in the passwords.list or passwords.txt. Therefore, at the end of the program, when the entire actual password.list goes through this actual loop, we want to print at the end password not in list. Because if all the passwords go through and it doesn't get to this point where it actually prints the username and password, that means that there is not a correct password in the list. Therefore, we want to print to the user of this program password not in list. So let's save this and let's make it an executable, and we can make it an executable using chmod +x bruteforcer.py. So we are making it an executable, and right now if we run it, it will ask us for the page URL, and you simply just specify this URL right here, but make sure that you also specify http and then 2.192.168.1.8/dbwa/login.php, and the username is going to be admin. And we can see it goes through the actual list very fast. It passed all of these incorrect passwords, and as soon as it came to trying admin, it prompted us right here, username equals admin and password equals admin, and then after it exited the program. Now we know that we created a successful actual Bruteforcer. All you need to do to make it work for other websites as well is change this part right here. Okay? So this is something that you need to change, because the actual name value for the username and password might be different in different pages. It could be something like user or passwd or something like that for password, and the login can be called differently, or the actual button can be called differently in different actual web pages. So this is the only thing that you actually need to change, and you can do that simply just by looking at the page source code, just like we did right now. All the other things can remain the same. Also, this is another thing that you need to change, because the actual message after you specify a wrong password will be different for each pages. So you just want to find the actual string that it prompts back to you. It could be saying something like incorrect password once you specify wrong password. So all you would do after it is you would search for something like incorrect password in response.content. You specify the desired URL, you specify the desired username, and then it will crack using your passwords.txt. So I hope you enjoyed this actual coding project, and I hope I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!